There's a moment that almost everyone waits for before they do something meaningful with their life. The moment they finally feel ready, more prepared, more confident, more certain. The problem is, that moment almost never actually shows up. If it did, most people would already be living very different lives. When I bought my first rental property, I did not feel ready, not even close. I didn't feel experienced enough. I didn't feel like I really knew what I was doing, and I definitely didn't feel like I was an investor. What I felt was excited and quietly terrified at the same time. And looking back, I think that's exactly how it's supposed to feel. At that point in our life, Emily and I had just come out of a heavy season financially. We had done the work to clean things up. We had paid off debt. We had created some breathing room. For the first time, our finances weren't just about survival. But even though the numbers were better, my mindset hadn't caught up yet. I still felt behind. I still felt like everyone else had started earlier than me. I still felt like there was some invisible starting gun that everyone else heard and I somehow missed. Around that time, I started paying closer attention to the people who were already doing what I wanted to do. And I noticed something that surprised me. They weren't braver than me. They weren't necessarily smarter than me either. They had just started before they actually felt ready. For a long time, I lived in research mode. I listened to podcasts, I read books, I ran numbers, I built spreadsheets that in hindsight were way more complicated than they needed to be. And all of that was useful, but none of it actually moved our life forward. At some point, I had to admit something uncomfortable to myself. Learning can turn into a very sophisticated form of procrastination. I kept telling myself I was being responsible. What I was really doing was trying to eliminate uncertainty. And you can't. Real estate doesn't work like that. Neither does life. Eventually, Emily and I had another one of those very honest, very simple conversations. Not emotional, not dramatic, just really honest. If we wait until this feels completely safe, we're probably never going to do it. That was the moment we stopped waiting for confidence and decided to start building it instead. We didn't go looking for anything flashy. We didn't try to hit a home run. We were looking for something boring, stable, and understandable. Could it rent? Could it cover its costs? And if something went wrong, could we survive it? That was our standard. I still remember the night before we made the offer. I didn't sleep much, not because the numbers didn't work, but because this was the first time we were stepping into something that couldn't be undone with a spreadsheet. There's a big difference between analyzing risk and actually carrying it. When the offer was accepted, I felt two things at the same time. I felt extremely proud, and I felt this quiet, sinking feeling in my stomach that said, okay, this is real now. The first few months of owning that place were not glamorous in any way. It was a lot of dealing with issues from the previous owner, figuring out what to do when a tenant can't pay rent, answering the calls or text messages that somehow always felt urgent, and slowly realizing that owning a property is being responsible for the problems that other people create. And here's something nobody really tells you. Your first property doesn't make you feel like an investor. It makes you feel like an impostor with a mortgage. I kept waiting for the moment where I'd finally feel qualified. And honestly, it never really came. What did come was competence, slowly, through handling issues, through making mistakes, through realizing that most problems are not actually as scary as they feel the first time you face them. And something else changed too. The fear started to shrink, not because the risk went away, but because I no longer was the same person who had started. I had proof now. Proof that we could figure things out. Proof that we could solve problems. Proof that we could operate in uncertainty without falling apart. Looking back, that first rental didn't change our life because of the money. It changed our life because of what it did to our identity. We stopped seeing ourselves as people who might do this someday. We became people who had started. And that shift is hard to overstate. Here's what I wish someone had told me before that first deal. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need perfect knowledge, and you definitely don't need perfect confidence. You need a deal that basically makes sense. You need some margin for error, and you need to be willing to be a beginner. Most people don't fail at real estate because they buy the wrong first property. They fail because they never buy a first property at all. They keep waiting, they keep preparing. They keep telling themselves they'll start when they feel more ready, and years go by. If you're listening to this and you feel that tension right now, the mix of excitement and fear, that's not a sign you're doing something wrong. That's a sign you're standing at the edge of growth. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to learn how to move forward while carrying it. Because confidence is not something you discover. It's something you build, one decision at a time, one problem at a time, one imperfect step at a time. So here's the question I want to leave you with. What are you currently waiting to feel ready for? And what would change if you decide to start building confidence instead of waiting for it? Almost every good thing in my life started with a decision I didn't feel ready for, and I'm really glad I didn't wait. If you've been waiting on making a decision, I want to encourage you. You can go to my website, thecurrencyofhappiness.com, and on there is a free goal-setting guide. It's going to walk you through the steps to make sure that you're no longer waiting on the sidelines and ready to move forward and take action. So if that's you, go to the website, thecurrencyofhappiness.com, and if you like this episode, make sure that you leave a review, hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.